And welcome to another Round the Rotary podcast with me, your host, JP Warren. And with us in the studio today, we have James Metcalf III, aka Trey, who's the SVP, Senior Vice President
of Intrepid Directional Drilling Specialist
of Operations at Intrepid Directional Drilling Specialist.
I don't know what you were queuing me up for there.
I wasn't queuing you anything, I was just pointing at you.
You're just pointing at me.
You got it?
I did.
We're in.
Okay, we're good.
Well, anyway, James, so first off, thanks for joining us today. I know you live in Midland currently,
yeah.
Right? So you decided to come to town to do this podcast, the #1 rated oil and gas podcast, per my wife, out there right now. So first off, thanks for coming in. And you and I met at the last year's Super Bowl party, is that correct?
Yeah, I came out there and we only spoke briefly. So
we only spoke briefly, so this is actually kind of the second time that you and I have actually gotten together and kind of sat around the table and talked a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here.
Exclusively came to Midland or Houston just for this.
Well, you know what? I think that's probably a good thing. So we want to hear your story today. We want to hear what you're all about. And you and I talked about a little bit before this, and we have some kind of good banter going on right now. But before we kicked off, why don't you give us a little background about yourself and kind of, who you are, where you're from, and just kind of cue us up.
Yeah, so kind of I'll go all the way back, and I'll keep this as brief as possible. Yeah, I'll go all the way back. I was born out in Laurel, Mississippi. Parents were out there.
Laurel, Mississippi? That's what Tara Clark's from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my dad was out there in the early 90s. Just, the 90s were kind of like it is now. It was tough for a long time. And so my dad had a job out there on the drilling side, doing some corner shooting activities in Mississippi. And then when I was 2, my dad took a job with Newfield. And then we moved out to the Woodlands, and that's where I grew up until I was about 16, and then I went to boarding school in Delaware.
Okay.
And then after 2 years of boarding school, and it's not because I was a total problem child. I think I had my obedience issues of my own. But
I feel like everyone has their obedience issues.
Yeah. But I had my fair share, but I didn't go to boarding school because of that. I just kind of went because I wanted a change of scenery.
Okay.
And then I went to Marietta College in Ohio. I studied Petroleum Engineering and graduated.
So did you want to get into petroleum engineering because your dad?
Yeah, I kind of grew up in it, right? I mean, I
Are you first generation, third generation?
Second generation oilfield.
Okay, so your dad was the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so my dad's first generation oilfield. I think a good way to put it is I only applied to 3 schools.
Which 3 schools?
Well, I applied to Syracuse,
okay,
which is where my grandparents, my mom's side went.
All right.
And then I applied to the Naval Academy, which is a whole nother story.
Okay.
And then I applied to Marietta.
Okay.
So I was legacy at Marietta. My parents both went there. My sister was currently there. My uncle went there.
Okay.
So it's a little family
roots
thing.
there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a family thing. So, anyways, I want to do engineering regardless of where I went.
Were you always good at like math and?
I was good at what I was good at, and I was really crappy at the things I didn't care about.
That's my move. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of why I didn't get into the Naval Academy. Is when they looked at my transcript, they could tell that I probably didn't try at anything, and there were certain things I was really good at naturally, and then other things that if I didn't try, just looked like garbage.
I kind of feel like we mirror our lives in that sense because I remember in high school, like I got voted top 70th percentile, and I was like, shit, yeah, this is awesome. Like I'm smarter than 70% of the class. Like no, JP, no, 70% of the class is performing better than you at academics. I'm like, oh, that makes more sense. Thus, that's why I'm in the 70. That's why I'm in the 70%.
So that's when you learned about the percentiles and how they
That's
work.
when I learned I'm not going to go be an engineer. I'm going to go marketing. That's when I figured that out.
But yeah, so the Naval Academy kind of, I think, saw through my BS in terms of how I operated in life. And
right.
I wasn't really in line.
Did you want to go military?
Yeah, my grandfather was a paratrooper, and I always looked up to him, envied him for his experiences, thought it was cool.
Did he talk about it a lot?
Not a lot, but it was present. He was proud about it.
Right.
He didn't talk about it, but he wore it, in
and
some
so
ways.
You saw that pride, and you're like, gosh, I want something like that.
Yeah, and he knew I was when I was a little kid, generally obsessed with the idea of
right.
And so he always fed into that with, my Christmas presents would be airborne themed, or, he'd have something for me, whatever.
Right.
So, but I had that idea, and the deal I made with my mom was that if I went to the military before I went to college, it would have to be through the academies.
Right.
And so that was my...
You want to get commissioned when you get out.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I I was in the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M. I get it. I get why you want to go through those stages and get that commission. I do.
Yeah. So they didn't take me. I did get into Syracuse though, but unfortunately I got into their sports broadcasting program, which when I applied to it, I had that as the number 1, and then I had engineering as the number 2.
Okay.
And I had, I don't know, some math or statistics or something, some other STEM kind of subject.
Yeah, the cool
as number
stuff.
3. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, like with the cool people,
Yeah.
what the jocks study.
Statistics, math.
And so I got into the sports broadcasting program at Syracuse, and I went there for a visit, and I was trying to transfer where I got into. And it turned out that the sports broadcasting was like the Syracuse sports broadcasting.
You're telling me like I know what's going on.
Well, it's like the top sports broadcasting program in the
Okay.
country, and I managed to get into it. But then when I was like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to do engineering. And my guidance counselor at high school told me to go ahead and.
So wait, why did you want to do engineering if you got this great program at Syracuse?
Because I don't have a voice like yours. It's not silky like
Oh, but
yours.
you have the engineering mindset?
I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
I'm good at what I'm good at, and I'm not good at what I'm not good at. Right?
Okay,
That's
all
kind of me. But so I had a guidance counselor that urged me to put something that seemed easier as my first choice. Then I could always transfer to my second choice
Right.
once I got in.
That's a great guidance counselor.
Yeah, well, Syracuse, because it's a private university, it happens to be ridiculously expensive. It's like $55,000 a year.
Right.
It's stupid. And they told me that I had to complete 4 semesters and maintain over a 3.5 GPA in sports broadcasting in order to even qualify to be able to apply.
And so what is the sports broadcasting? What do the classes look like with that?
Well, I didn't even look at the syllabus. I don't know. I mean,
Is it like just like getting a good like chain smoking some heaters, getting a good voice, a good podcaster voice? I mean,
get
what
it real deep?
what is it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's general. I'm sure your first 2 years are probably like what any journalism track is going to do. Just like with whatever major you do, your first year or 2 are just the general things.
Yeah,
that anyone in
yeah.
that.
It's the weed out
school.
classes.
Yeah.
It's the weed out classes. Were you always into sports?
No, but I put that down there because my guidance counselor told me to.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And I had no ambition to do sports broadcasting.
You know, here I am proposing the questions like every 18, 19-year-old has any idea what they want to do. I remember when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do for the first 2 years. I was general studies. Yeah. And I was like, I'll just choose marketing.
And somehow you ended up at A&M from Connecticut.
If somehow.
Which is even stranger.
That's a different topic though. So sportscasting was there, and but you want to be an engineer.
Yeah, so I was trying to get into the mechanical engineering program, and I just knew myself well enough to where there was no way in hell. I had no shot in hell in
Okay.
any subject I did to be
Okay.
able to spend $110,000 on education in the wrong direction and be able to maintain a 3.5 GPA just
Right.
to get into the engineering program and start over.
You know what's funny? Like
Didn't make sense.
back in the day, like grades, like that GPA mattered so much. And I'm not saying GPAs aren't important. If people are out there listening right now, they are important. But like, I remember back in the day, like GPAs mattered. You know what I mean? But once you graduate, you're like, wait a minute, they don't really matter that much. Like it's just as long as you got the paper, the degree. I mean, that's what matters.
Yeah, there's definitely some threshold, like on the engineering side, when I ended up getting a petroleum engineering degree from Marietta.
So you got a PE degree.
Yeah, so I went to Marietta. It was one of my 3.
Does Marietta have a good petroleum engineer college?
I think they do.
Okay.
I mean, I have pride. There's 3 schools in the Midwest. There's Penn State, West Virginia, and Marietta.
Marietta, what's the mascot?
We're the Pioneers. The Pios, baby.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually, through the 80s, ESPN voted us the worst NCAA football team of the whole decade. So.
Well, I missed the 80s. So anyway, so Marietta Pioneers, PE, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you look at, there's kind of 3 petroleum-esque programs at Marietta. There's petroleum engineering, there's the land management program, I can't remember exactly what they branded it as,
Right.
and then there's the geology program.
Okay.
And so if you look at those, they're 40% of the school probably.
Yeah.
It's a small school, it's got 1,200 students in total.
So so how did you,
You had classes bigger than my college.
So you're doing PE, I mean, so how did you get recruited? I mean, how did you, were there like oilfield service companies or operators going up there recruiting out of that college?
Yeah, so, I mean, all the big guys in the Northeast, you know, the EQTs of the
Yeah.
world and all those guys, Southwest, anyone who was drilling a lot in Pennsylvania at the
Okay.
time was doing a lot of recruiting up there. We had long-term good relationships with Hess, Anadarko, Chevron, Probably Chevron and Anadarko were our two biggest recruiters by like volume over average of 10
Okay.
years or something like that. But then you have there's a lot of smaller companies up in the Northeast. A lot of the gas players are
Yeah.
smaller, and you see a lot of the consolidation right now over the past couple of years up
You're
there.
seeing that a lot lately. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, we had a good presence, and the program's been around for as long as any program's been around in some way or fashion.
So what was your motivation to get into petroleum engineering?
So my dad was kind of a lifelong drilling and operations guy, whether it was engineering or middle management or
Right.
senior management throughout the years. And I kind of grew up in it. I was fascinated by it. Definitely looked up to my dad and idolized him as somebody that I wanted to be like when I was older.
So you just figured this degree is kind of something that I can kind of emulate. Like,
Yeah, but not necessarily like a means to an end to get there, but
Right.
something that I could do that would be, achievable and
Okay.
a path that can be done and something that is rewarding and interesting. And I mean, in the oil and gas world, it's 24/7. There's always something to do.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of lifestyle for sure. So
So you're already exposed to that on the front side.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like I said, my parents met in college, but they never dated or anything like that. And then they got together after the 10-year reunion for college. And
Oh, really?
yeah, it's a cool story.
Well, tell us the story.
I don't want to butcher it too much, and like my mom listens to this. I apologize if you did anything wrong, but
Well, first off, I highly doubt she listens. Well,
Well,
she listens to
she's-
this if you're on.
she's pretty proud of me, so she'll probably.
So they
listen.
met at their 10-year.
Well, they knew each other in college. They
Yeah.
ran in similar groups. My dad was on the rowing team. He was in petroleum, so he had his petroleum guys. He had his rowing team buddies, and my mom, like, I think the only athletic activity she did at Marietta was she played rugby, and in the first game she broke her jaw.
Okay.
So that was the end of her athletic career.
Okay.
But anyways, they ran in the same circles. They knew each other very well, all that kind of stuff. And then they went to the 10-year reunion. And I can't remember exactly how the story goes, but they were, I guess, hitting on each other at the 10-year
Yeah.
reunion. And my dad was just completely oblivious to the fact that my mom was,
Well, like all men are.
yeah,
I mean, you're single, right?
yeah.
I never had any idea when someone was hitting on me or not. I was just oblivious.
He's like, wow, they're nice.
Oh yeah, well they're being very sweet.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a very nice
yeah,
person.
she's a nice person.
Yeah. So I guess one of my dad's buddies tipped my dad off and said, Barb was hitting on you pretty hard. He goes, no, she was just talking.
Yeah.
And I guess his wheels started spinning and he started thinking about it, and somehow they ended up linking up, and and my mom was in Baltimore, my dad was he was either in Houston or Lafayette at the time. I think he was in Houston. And then they went on some trip to New York, and
That was it.
yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, the rest is history.
You were the future.
Well, first it was my sister. She
You
was
and
the
your sister
future.
the future.
Yeah,
That's
I was.
right.
Yeah.
Have
Then
you
I
ever-
came along.
So when did you graduate high school?
11.
Okay, so you're not even at your 10-year.
No.
Are you gonna go?
I don't know. I don't know if I'll be invited back.
Oh, I'll bet you will.
I've got some history, but maybe for the next podcast.
That's the next podcast.
Yeah.
So who did you get on with after you graduated?
Yeah, so I was kind of lucky. It's my whole story is pretty serendipitous in a lot of different ways. But when I was going into my senior year of college, I got a job with Endurance Resources, private equity backed company from Lime Rock, or I guess it's Lime Rock Partners.
Okay.
Was the private equity company that
Okay.
backed them. And I worked for a guy named Don Ritter, who was a Marietta guy. He hired me to be like the drilling intern, and they had let go of the drilling engineer and drilling manager, whoever it was, right before I showed up.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right.
I was just, I learned how to do
I still
permitting.
know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I fumble around through
Yeah.
life most days, but yeah, so I learned permitting. I learned casing design better than the college drilling classes. They'll teach you casing design, but not really what you need to know.
You're actually learning
Yeah.
real world stuff.
Applicable skills,
Yeah.
right? And just kept doing that kind of stuff and playing drilling engineer, if you will. And then when I finished out the summer, I was still working for them part-time in college, which was awesome.
Really?
They paid well. I worked like 40 hours a week, which is not really part-time, but I worked plenty of hours.
Was it what you thought it would be?
That role, not necessarily, because it wasn't like, I don't know, the authority level, the technical, the training, all that kind of stuff wasn't there. I was mainly helping get it done.
Okay.
Right. That was the task I was assigned, was just help to get things done.
Right.
Like, let's not change the world. You're not in charge of.
You're not coming in here. You're not interjecting your strategies or anything like that.
I
Just
had
get the job
engineering.
done.
I had engineering responsibilities, but I didn't have like a opinion-based ability
Right.
to move the needle in any direction.
Right.
I was purely objective work.
Okay.
And, but anyway, so I did that through college, and I had a tough time getting a job, probably similar to what a lot of people are going through right now.
Right.
You know, I was graduating in 15, and in the
Oh,
fall
that's when, so.
in the fall of 14 is when all started falling fast, right?
That's right.
So that's my senior year. That was the recruiting season. That last fall of senior year, I thought I had a job in the bag with Endurance, and it just started to disintegrate the opportunity, right? And I don't, you know, what was there was no longer there. Is a good
So
way to
what were
say
you
it.
thinking about? Because I'll bet if people listening now that are kind of about to graduate, coming into the oil and gas industry and all that stuff, they're probably sitting in the same boat that you were back in the day. Like, you know, shit's hit the fan, things are falling, the jobs might not be there anymore. So kind of what was your mindset during this whole time?
Yeah, you know, it was. I think my dad says it best is when I told him that I was pretty much dead in the water on the Endurance deal in terms of working there because they didn't know if they could drill anymore.
Right.
They didn't know if they had a need for anyone. I mean, it is what it is. It's not my control. It's not for me to judge anyone or be mad at anyone about, but that's what it was. And, you know, it was one of those things where he told my mom was on my butt about, you know, he needs to go do this, he needs to go do that, blah, blah, blah. And my dad said, you know what, he's gonna twist one off this weekend, and then he's gonna get on it. And I mean, that's exactly what I did. You know, I took it in the shorts, I was pretty upset, and after that, you know, I figured out whatever kind of applicable experience I had. Luckily, I'd worked my last summer in the Delaware Basin, in Lee County, New Mexico, off of the famous Battle Axe, all those places, right?
Right.
And so I had experience there. I had some interesting experiences through the Endurance stuff. And I leveraged those and I sent out probably 100 different resumes with cover letters.
Right.
Like custom cover letters for every opportunity, regardless
Now,
of
were
whether
these just sort of towards like operators?
Yeah, just, service companies too. I mean,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it was always, I think every petroleum engineer goes into school with the dream of working for an operator.
Right.
Right, and so that was my first direction.
Right.
My second direction was also trying to find those other opportunities that existed.
Just land a job that applies to your degree.
Something to learn something.
Yeah.
That's all I needed.
I get
I
that.
just needed to get in.
Yeah.
Right? I couldn't spend 4 years getting this degree and then go nowhere.
Go work at
That-
Amazon. Yeah.
that wasn't going to be an option to me. So a lot of resumes, a lot of cover letters. I guess a good piece of advice for people is if you know of a company and you know of a person but you don't have their email, just try to figure out what their email template is and then try to make it up and see if it gets kicked back. Because if it doesn't get kicked back, they probably got it.
All you need to do is just find out one other person's email.
And how it's organized.
Whether it's the
First
letter,
initial,
first initial, last name, the
underscore, periods,
the first
dashes.
3 letters. You figure that stuff out as a salesman.
Yeah.
You do, a salesperson.
Yeah,
you do.
And that's part of my skills that I've crafted over
So
the
you're
years.
shooting out all these emails, all these cover letters, all
Yeah.
these resumes. So what happened next?
So through all of that, I got some good traction. I got some positive feedback, and I
Right.
got some thank yous, but no thank yous at the same time. But I ended up landing. I took my actually one of the smartest things I did was I went back to Midland for Endurance for my last spring break, my senior year. All my buddies were in Panama City and all that kind of stuff.
Just ripping it, partying.
Last spring break, here we go. At the end of our lives, we're no longer in college
Let's
kind of
go to
mentality.
Midland.
And I went to Midland because I had a project I was doing. Because although they didn't have a job for me when I graduated, they still had things that I needed to do.
Yeah.
And so the good thing was that it was actually a really good deal. They paid me double, and
Okay.
they paid for all my time to travel.
Which is huge college days.
So spend a few $1,000s on spring break, or make a few $1,000s working, and it turns out to be a several $1,000 swing.
Right.
So I went to Houston first, and I was meeting with some EOG people. I think they were vetting me to make sure I wasn't just an absolute dirtbag or something
Right.
like that. And then I happened to be in Midland, and when I was finishing up that lunch here in Houston, downtown, they said, "Well, what are you doing for the rest of the week?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to go to Midland because I have this project I got to finish up, and I'll spend the next 4 days doing that." And they said, "Well, okay, cool. We just we got a new manager we just put in there. I'll get you guys linked up. That's great. You're going to be in Midland." And I think they were, I think I got the credit for the fact that I wasn't going to the beach.
That you
right?
weren't gung ho just going to the beach or staying
Yeah.
in Houston. You're actually go.
Yeah, I was going
get
to
some
go.
experience.
I was going to go get something done, and most
Yeah.
importantly, make some money because I didn't have any means
Right.
when I graduated at the point, right? So, So anyway, so I go up there, and
Yeah.
so I go up there for endurance,
Yeah.
and they knew that I was looking for a job as well, so it wasn't anything I had to hide. But I got linked up for lunch with a guy named Heath Work and a guy named Steve Munsell, two people that I think are great people, oil and gas.
Well, were they mentors? Were they
Well,
buddies?
so Heath Work was a drilling manager over at EOG in the Permian,
Okay.
and Steve Munsell was a drilling advisor. And Steve was definitely he's a guru, godfather, cementing, casing. I think he does like a lot of mentorship on leadership and really trying to like steer the organization.
Which is kind of what you want, though.
Yeah.
I mean, during when times are shit, I mean, if someone picks you up as a mentor, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. So I ended up going to, I guess it's either George's or Jorge's in Houston. I don't have people. I don't know. But anyways, so we had lunch.
Depending where you.
It just depends. But so we ended up having lunch, me, Heath, and Steve, and they're asking me all these questions. And I'm telling them all like I'm doing permitting, I'm doing progs, I'm doing casing design, I'm dealing with the BLM, I'm doing all this, I'm doing blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and the things that I'm doing. And they were just happy with my responses because at least I was doing something that was applicable, I guess. And
Right.
about 2 months later, I was walking home from, I rented a townhouse. It was a 3-story townhouse that had 5 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and had 6 people living in it at Marietta.
Okay.
And I was walking my half-mile back from campus home after my last regular semester test, and I got a call from Heath Work. And he basically said, hey, we got you hooked up, we'll work out the details later, just want to let you know.
Okay.
Right? I was ecstatic. I basically jumped up in the air and clicked my heels. I mean, I was
Right.
I was happy.
Yeah.
I had something to look forward to because I was nearing weeks away from graduation.
And it's also during the bust, right?
Yeah, this is 15.
Yeah.
This is like, mid-April in 15
Yeah.
or something, right? It was just getting
That's
crappier
the
and
thick
crappier.
of it.
Yeah. And so, anyways, by the time I get home, before I get home, I get a call from Manny Sirgo, who worked under Don Ritter over at Endurance, and they offered me a job. Because I had been working for them, and now they had,
Okay.
they
Same-
had something to give me.
Same day.
Same day, within 20 minutes.
Aye, aye.
All after, and I think, I don't know, I always, I think that my last official test in college outside of finals somehow have some relevancy that is like serene or something like that, but I don't know.
So wait, you got these 2 calls for 2 jobs.
I spent 5 months like not sleeping and
Yeah.
losing sleep over not having an opportunity after college, and it all kind of came together all in one day, 2 weeks before graduation, right before
Okay.
finals.
You
that
got
kind of
2
time.
offers from 2 different companies.
Yeah, in 20 minutes, basically.
Okay. And do you attribute that to kind of what you were doing during your summers in college, actually getting involved, permitting and all that stuff while your friends are going to Panama City or something like that? You're actually working. I mean,
Well, I think some of it is. I mean, I was just lucky. I mean, I don't think any 21-year-old who's practically broke in college all the time would say no to a job that pays $25 an hour
yeah.
to work part time.
right.
And so I said yes to that. One, because I liked doing it, I liked interacting, and I also wanted to continue to have the opportunity, after college.
Yeah.
And so I said yes for a lot of different reasons: the money, the opportunity, all
Who'd you
those
say
things.
yes to?
Well, when I was going into my senior year, I said yes to endurance,
Yeah.
right? But then the opportunity wasn't there anymore for continued work, and so I ended up. I ended college. I think I graduated on like the 10th of May, 15th of May. I was in Midland. I did another month in Midland working for endurance, getting everything kind of transitioned over to everyone
Right.
else, and then luckily they had hired a real drilling engineer, someone with actual experience, to come in when I was leaving, and they had all the interns, so I got them all privied up on permitting and stuff like that, and at least the paperwork, and keep the wheels greased,
Right.
keep the monster fed. We have to keep doing this paperwork so we can keep doing what we're doing. And but they hired Tinley Vaya, she's now Tinley Vaya.
Okay.
So Sterling Vaya's wife. I don't remember what Tinley's maiden name is, but she was over at Apache for a lot of years.
Okay.
And they took her, and then she started a few days after me, and I literally left Midland on a Friday, went back home, packed a different bag, and then went to the rig and started on Wednesday over to EOG.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
took the UOG job.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the long-winded story, so I apologize for anyone listening, but yeah, so
Well, was it everything you expected? I mean, you're
I
studying
had-
petroleum engineering. You've been around from your dad. I mean, you've been out in the field doing these permits and all this stuff. Like, was this job at EOG everything you expected or wanted?
I think in a lot of ways, yes, but something to remember is from like 2001, 2002 all the way until 14, the industry was blowing and going. There was no end in sight. I mean, it was a different kind of world we live in today, right? So when I came up through a lot of that, it wasn't the kind of thing that we deal with today. So my perception was probably skewed. Right, because all the peers and the mentors and the guys that would come back to Marietta, they would tell these stories, and it seemed like automatic, it seemed easy, right? There was so much going on.
You know what? Honestly, it seems like back in the day, it's like if you're in the right place at the right time, like you bust your ass, you do your work. If you're in the right place at the right time, it's gonna hit. It's gonna pay off, regardless. You know what I mean? Like there's always that like. And that always kept people going.
Well, the odds were there.
Oh, the odds were there. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. To sell out to this person, to make a great deal with this company. I mean, the odds were there. You're right. Yeah, to actually like crush it in the oil and gas industry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up out in the field, and I was really lucky with how I ended up because regardless of all the other BS that was going on in the world or the industry, I had a really good set of. You know, when you get trained in the field, it's pretty important who's interacting with you. As a green guy, regardless of my year of permitting and paperwork, right? Green guy operationally, basically, right?
Okay.
Planning and stuff like that, I had a little experience, but not to the level that we were doing out there at EOG. And I got hooked up, and I mentioned Heath Work, and I mentioned Steve Munsell earlier, but another guy that I have to give kudos to in terms of like teaching me a lot of things is Jason Fitzgerald, because it was his guys out there in the field that helped kind of cut my teeth, bring me up, all that kind of stuff, and bring me out, and really teach me about what it's all about and what's important. And a lot of good personalities, a lot of interesting personalities. I don't think anyone would deny that there was at that time in 15, 16 at EOG in the field, plus a couple more years out in the field. I mean, it was the group of guys that I worked with were some of the...
You meet some of the best people in the field.
Yeah, the most interesting...
Oh.
Neurotic, cutthroat. They treated me like the engineer out there, and not the good way.
Oh, I know.
Which was the expectation. Right?
Oh, when I was at Noble doing the offshore drilling operations management drilling program, I completely understand that. I mean, I was always messed with the corporate guy, but I was like, guys, I'm one of you guys. Like, you try to fit in, you try to do this stuff, but it's some of the best people you meet out in the field.
Oh, yeah, they're I mean. Wonderful is kind of a weird word to use, but they're wonderful people
wonderful.
Because
that's okay word.
Because it's a diverse group, and I was on one of the NORAM rigs at the time too when I first came out. I was on NORAM 30, and I had Chuck Whalen and Joe Rudd, and then I can't remember the tool pusher's name on NORAM 30, but we all I was out there for 14 straight months. Right, and it was the same crew, same tool pushers, same drillers, same company men. Until EOG, then boom, it was like, okay, we're gonna pick up rigs, and they started splitting crews and stuff like that. And we all just became family. I mean, it was interesting. I got that experience early on in terms of like you come to work and you know who's gonna be there, and you're looking forward to seeing.
And you know the banter, you know the jokes, who to mess with about what. Like it's a family setting. It's a feeling.
And as the engineer.
He just did quotation marks for those that are listening.
Well, there's a camera. I guess everyone's just listening sometimes. But
well, I mean, some people watch, but he's just.
I threw some quotations up, but I did a lot of the. You got to figure out which company men want me to do which part of their reporting for them and all that kind of thing. And Jason Fitzgerald, that goes on. We do the reporting for you guys when we're out there, but it's it's one of those things you have to earn your stripes in so many different ways. And some of the things are menial, and some of the things are monotonous, but that's the way that the oil field is there's a lot of critical, expensive moments, and then there's other monotonous moments as well.
Right.
And you can't be crappy at any of them. You just have to keep just doing things, right?
So you're there, you're on the rig, 14 months at EOG.
Yeah.
Right, West Texas.
Yeah. Well, then EOG started picking up some rigs, and I started moving around, but I did that 14, 13 months, or 13 hitches, or however you want to quantify it, on that one rig, and I really enjoyed it, and I met with a few other guys, and I had some really good experiences out there. And then EOG goes and consummates this deal with Intrepid, and that's when I met Clint Leeser, who is my boss, and he owns Intrepid. And I met him through Heath. He was walking him out of the office after a meeting, and I was coming in to come talk about some stuff. But I remember Jason telling me, hey, I need you to come into the office this morning. I was like, man, crap.
Yeah.
I guess they're just going to send me home. I mean, I get it. Like, you know, it's one of those things, like, it was such a crappy time that any time no one would tell you what's going on, and you had a very suspicious meeting, you always assume the worst.
It's
right?
one of those things, like, if you're out having fun and all that stuff, you get a message, like, from, like, you know, the girl or your wife, like, we need to talk. It's like, oh, shit. Right now. It might not be bad, but it comes with it. Yeah, like, we need to have a meeting, James.
But I didn't have the kind of stroke or the relationship with Jason to tell him, I need you to tell me what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
You know, so I went in there blind. I packed everything at the rig.
Okay.
I was just like, I'm not driving back out here.
So you're ready to get let go?
Yeah, because I just didn't know. You know, it was kind of one of those things. You just don't know what's planned next.
So what happened in this meeting?
So I went in, and then Jason says, hey, we need somebody to help us out with this directional stuff.
Okay.
You know, and they picked me, one, because they knew that they could bring me in, and I already wasn't doing anything that was necessary because I was extra.
But did you have any idea about directional?
No, the only time I saw the internals of any components of the motor was when I wasn't supposed to. Like if we broke something.
Yeah. So
I mean, I've never been in a motor shop. I didn't even surface level understand how.
So this is all new to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So fresh set of eyes. We need some help, just oversight, and it was really like, let's just try to steer this thing, and let's just learn it and give us
see
feedback.
what you can improve on.
Yeah. And so he says, but the catch is that, you know, this is a Wednesday, let's say, a week into my hitch, and he says, but we need you living here in Midland permanently starting Monday.
Oh.
The backstory to that is 2 weeks or like a week and I guess 3 weeks before that moment, I had driven home and I had broken up with my girlfriend in Dallas.
Okay.
And we lived together, and Heath and Jason knew that I had a serious relationship and I lived with my girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend.
Now ex-girlfriend. But Chad Gregory, another engineer, knew that I was going back to break up with my girlfriend because I just, for whatever reason, had a weak moment in the field. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go home. I'm done with this shit. And so he went and told us, like, hey, by the way, like, Metcalf's going to be available again, you know?
Yeah.
We can pretty much tell him whatever we need to tell him. And
He's
he'll
have
be
no
here.
plans going on.
Yeah, he'll be here. So, anyways, yeah, so they knew I was in a vulnerable position, geographically, if you will. To where
emotionally.
Emotionally as well. And so he said, I need you here on Monday, and I said, okay, and called some buddies, rented some rooms, or not rooms, a room. I don't need multiple. But,
So wait, so you took this to be kind of the Intrepid liaison?
Liaison's a good word for
Liaison's
it.
a great word.
In the beginning, yeah, and then it morphed into, because it started where we had Drill Tech and Crescent out there as well. And, the problem with the basin was that it wasn't that any of these companies were really, like, just the nature of the Permian.
Right.
It was just several years ago that things became high performance, high tech, no excuses, and no, like, zero tolerance for incidents.
And back in the
failures.
day, it was kind of more of a wildcat situation. Where
Yeah, it was a little bit more cowboy,
right?
You know?
Yeah,
And
black gold, if you will.
but also there was kind of like an apprehension to bring a lot of technology to the basin because a lot of companies didn't really require it.
Okay.
Right? And so even when we want technology, we would get a lot of failures, drilling 6 3/4 hole, breaking motors all the time, all that kind of stuff. So our way of addressing that was like, let's get with a company, let's align with a company, and my
Wait, what
boss-
do you mean our way? Are you talking about EOG?
Yeah,
Okay.
when I say EOG
Yeah.
in this context would be our way, EOG, was to just align with the company and let's bring out new equipment, let's bring out the best equipment,
Okay.
let's bring out, test equipment.
Right.
Let's try some stuff.
Right.
Rather than the status quo that's been out there for 10 years that everyone just keeps running in this full size. And so I started as a liaison between EOG and Intrepid, kind of in the middle. But I got my rigs, started kind of actually functioning as a formal drilling engineer.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was, for an engineer, that's
That's a big
definitely,
deal.
yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
When you get your first rig that you're over at an EOG under the management that we had, and I really do think the management they still have is when they give you your rig, there is some oversight, there is some, but
They trust you.
they put you in the deep end.
Right.
Like that's their method.
Right.
And
Well,
I think it works.
That's how you learn.
I think it works. If you hold everyone's hands for a decade, like you don't know who's good or not. And
You have to allow people to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Or to learn from their decisions.
Yeah, and there's always oversight to keep people from making too big of a mistake.
Right.
But anyway, so I kind of just came up that way, and then somehow I wedged myself into being the directional liaison, right?
Okay.
Because we had to go bring in some, placebo is a bad word, because placebo means nothing, basically, right? But some analog directional companies,
Okay.
right? Analogous directional companies. So we had been bringing all this equipment in. Let's go find a couple directional companies that have good equipment, that we know have great track records, great names, that we've worked with in other basins, and let's see who wants to invest in some of the stuff that we do know works better for
Okay.
here, and then we'll bring them onto the team. And so that's how we ended up bringing on MS and Pro, and got them a couple rigs each and all that kind of
So
stuff.
how long were you doing this liaison position between Intrepid and EOG before they had you expand your scope of service providers and bring in MS, Pro?
It wasn't long. It was 4 or 5 months.
That's
because,
it?
Yeah, because our rig count was going up so fast.
Okay.
Like when I started with EOG, we had 4 or 5 rigs, right?
Right.
And then they got up to 24, I believe.
Okay.
And so, like, as we went to 8, and then 10, and then 12, it was kind of one of those things where we knew that we couldn't expand with our model fast enough, so we needed more partners.
Okay.
Right, we needed more business partners. And so that was the method that we went through at that point. So, but yeah, so after that iteration where we brought on 2 more service providers for the same product line, or same type of product, right? That's when it seemed like I was just kind of always the directional liaison.
Okay.
You know, officially and unofficially. At some point, I don't know how it happened, but I had to basically qualify anything that anyone wanted to put in the hole.
Right.
But I think it's because I latched onto it. And it's a function of how I got the job I have today. It's because I just latched onto everything they told me to do. I just was fascinated by it. So I just
How
kept
did a
learning.
petroleum engineer graduate from Marist?
Marietta.
Marietta.
Not Marist.
Whatever. My dad taught at Marist. Anyway, so petroleum engineer from Ohio. I mean, you're telling me these stories, and you're plunked in the middle of being this directional liaison between EOG and Intrepid, and then you had to bring all this stuff. How did you go as a petroleum engineer at EOG into kind of where you're at today?
Yeah, so I had a lot of people ask me a similar question, but in a way less respectful way, which they assumed that I must have gotten.
Can I guess? Can I guess the respectful way? Man, why'd you go from an operator to a service side? Was that kind of like that?
Or like you get laid off, you know?
Yeah,
it was that kind of attitude.
Was that tough? You had to do your COVID job?
Yeah, you had to go to the service side, huh?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, as crazy as I am, I had a wild hair on my ass, and I went into the dark side. I mean, I left EOG, and I chased an opportunity over at Endeavor, and to me, the team was not, in a lot of ways, it was a good fit for me. It wasn't a good fit for me, and I knew that long term it wasn't going to be there in terms of, I need other options, is a good way to say it.
So were you trying to get like another operational, like drilling role at Endeavor or
Yeah,
something like that?
well, I mean, I went to Endeavor as a drilling engineer,
Okay.
and I think a good way to say it is that I didn't fit in that organization
Okay.
well, and
That's okay.
I left EOG in haste because I was pretty disappointed in a few things that were going on with the changes that were being made.
Okay.
Like a lot of my teammates had been, let's say, moved, dismantled, or removed themselves is a good way to say it. And so like what I knew as the culture that I liked was kind of
It's
being
kind of
dismantled.
faulty and dismantled,
Yeah.
not there anymore. Okay.
Which is okay, companies change, and I just,
So you
and
went
maybe I was young, I was stubborn, and I believed in the grass is greener on the other side.
So you went to Endeavor.
Yeah, I went to Endeavor, and Bobby Smith at EOG, I talked to him
Yep.
when I quit EOG, and his advice to me, or his feedback to me when I let him know I was leaving was, sometimes it's not greener grass, it's just different grass. Which was true, because
Yeah,
it was
true.
different grass.
Yeah.
And like I said, like over at Endeavor, I mean, what I love about my Denver experience was that I didn't have any Midland Basin experience, right? And at one point in Endeavor, for about 6 months, I had 3 rigs drilling, and Endeavor has the second largest Midland Basin presence in the entire Permian. And so I had 3 rigs, all spread out 80 miles from each other. So I was learning all these lessons and learning where the honey holes were and where the tough spots are, and what designs aren't working well, where the water flood or the San Andreas
And
water
so
flows are.
you enjoy this learning experience.
The learning experience was
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I just think it wasn't the right fit for me as a company, and you know, I guess the right way to say it is that I fulfilled my obligation and I moved a different direction, right? But as I saw that other direction kind of coming to the horizon and me needing to make a decision, I was trying to think of what I wanted to do. And,
Okay.
and Clint and I had always, or Clint Leeser and I had always teased or joked about me coming to work for him at Intrepid. Well, finally we started having serious conversations about it.
Yeah.
And I think he thought I was crazy. Because like no way in hell would this, you know, drilling engineer that's worked for
With EOG,
two of the largest
Endeavor.
operators
These
in
are
the
some
Permian
solid operators right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
would ever, in his right mind,
And what-
willingly go over to the service side.
But what role was he asking you to fill in the service side of Intrepid?
It was the role I have now.
Really?
So he threw me in, I mean, to the deep end. I mean, he basically put ankle weights on me and threw me into the deep end of the pool on the senior VP of operations, because I think he had seen me kind of navigate obstacles. He had seen me through some difficult decisions, and Clint and I always had a good,
Right.
good relationship. And he trusts me, but he also, I think, believes in my abilities to get certain things done, and maybe my aptitude to kind of adapt or something like
And
that.
and your job in operations at Intrepid is also kind of bleeds into sales too.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like most service companies, you're operate. I mean, everyone needs to sell. Operations also
We're all
sells,
in
right?
sales,
I mean,
yeah.
Right.
Blah,
There's
blah,
that.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, there's a lot of customer interactions. There's a lot of like even discovery and forward-facing pre-customer meetings.
So how was it going from an operator as a drilling engineer at Endeavor to suddenly making this career switch or this mental switch to kind of going over as a senior vice president of operations at a directional company?
So for the first 3 months, Clint will tell you that every time I left the office, like whether it was for lunch or
Yeah.
I wanted to let my dog out or
Yeah.
whatever, he didn't know if I was coming back. He was convinced. He was convinced that
It was a fill-in time.
but he was convinced I was just going to come back and I was going to say, you know what, fuck all this shit.
Really?
I'm out. This is nonsense.
Why?
But because the service side is so much different. Like it really was a shock and awe kind of event for me.
Right.
Emotionally, professionally, stress-wise, all those kind of things.
Was it an ego thing for you? Because I know some people have like, oh, I want to go service side. It's like, man, service side has a lot of fun. I mean, you bust your ass, but you have a lot of fun. I mean, was it an ego thing for you, going from an operator like EOG and Endeavor to a directional company?
No, I think the reason I did it at the end of the day is because I trust and have a good relationship with Clint,
Yeah.
and I know what he's about. I'm very close with him, and I know sort of, and everyone's expectations change, but I know what his expectations are.
So it's one of those things.
And I have to learn how to accomplish these things, but I also know what he wants.
So it's one of those things too. It's like you're getting a point in your career. It's like I'm going to choose who I'm going to work with now. You know what I mean? Like if you understand Clint, I mean,
Yeah.
I might be putting words in your mouth, but it seems like if Clint, if you've established a relationship with Clint, and you're all talking all this stuff, like you understand, like you're choosing who you want to work with.
Well, I think keep in mind too, it was 2018 in
Yeah.
Midland, right? When I was brokering this deal with Clint, and I brokered the deal with Endeavor in 2017
Yeah.
in Midland, and those were definitely times where if you could present yourself as attractive,
Yeah.
you could halfway choose. But I never put it up to bid,
Okay.
right? Like when I was talking to Rhett Bullock and Scott Rivera at Endeavor,
Yeah.
and figuring out what I wanted to do over there and what we could do together. I didn't go look for other jobs. Like
Right.
I looked at that one as like, this is something I want. Like I know of what else is out there, and this is what I want. And I wasn't a good fit there. And so when I wasn't a good fit there, I went another direction, and I went for Clint, and I talked with him back and forth. And
You say you're not a good fit. Is that a gut feeling, or is that just kind of like you walk in the office and you're just not feeling the culture? I mean, when you say you're not a good fit, why do you say that?
well, I liked a lot of the team I dealt with.
I mean, that's a random question. I mean,
It's a tough question,
It's
too.
a
It's
tough
a tough
question.
question.
It's like, man, I don't know. It's a gut feeling. I felt like working with these guys.
I think as well. You know, it's been about 3 years since I started over there, and I am young, so there's still some layers of maturity that come in with my age because I am young.
I'm 40. I still got some maturity levels.
I know.
Going
I can't wait till you're 50. You know, but
I think my next month will be 50 with the oil field right now.
Yeah, but I think a good way to say it is that that's a tough question, but
It's okay to have dead air, by the way.
I know. I'm just trying to think of a good way to say that. So
So it's
I loved a lot of what I did at Endeavor. I cherish my experiences there
Yeah.
because of, like, I was given 3 rigs. They were spread out. I got different wellbore designs, different challenges, different teams, North and South, Midland Basin, all those kind of things that I didn't have in my engineering toolbox before
Right.
that I knew and I kind of could recognize when I looked at a map in terms of what it's like drilling. But in a lot of ways as well, I just didn't fit in there personality-wise. I mean, I think if you ask anyone at Endeavor today that worked there while I worked there, there was no shortage of ruffled feathers while I was there, right? And so, like,
yeah.
I can't go around with that kind of, for whatever reason.
No,
That's how
no.
I was operating.
But you know what though? I mean, it's very interesting as a salesperson. I mean, you get to see, like, when you walk into a building, whether it's Apache, the old Anadarko, whether it's a small independent operator, or whether it's Conoco, you notice a different feel of cultures. You know what I mean? There's a different feeling of people that are there and what they engage with you and talking all that stuff. It's just a different feel that each company you go to. You know what I mean? So I understand, like, sometimes it just doesn't feel right in the gut. You know what I mean? Like,
And you know, at Endeavor, we were doing really good work too. We were drilling fast wells, making a lot of progress, all that kind of stuff.
So has there-
the egotistical portion of you as a drilling
Oh, you wanna be
engineer
the best.
makes you you're like, oh my god, we're so good.
you want to be the
know?
best. Has there been any eye-opening kind of like, oh shit moments or anything like that, like from going from an operator like Endeavor or EOG to the service side as a directional company? Like, is there anything like you're like, oh my god, like I can't believe like this is how they view this or anything like that? Like, because it seems like it's a new experience, a new lens to look through.
Well, there's a lot of different things to that, but I think a good one is when someone wants you to sharpen their pencil or sharpen your pencil.
Yeah.
Right. It's they're like, well, your revenue's revenue. Well, revenue isn't revenue. I think that's a misconception. Is in the directional world, the
Right.
margins are so squeezed. If we damage one piece of equipment, then and the operators are no longer inclined to pay for a lot of the damages that happen. That just really the phase in the industry we're in. That if I damage one piece of equipment, sometimes I'm doing the entire job for free, if not writing a check to do the job.
And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, and so like that kind of stuff adds up. And
Did that kind of hit you, like doing that? Like when you got your first ticket back, you're like, wait a minute, screw that. Like they should be paying for this.
At times, yeah,
Yeah.
it depends the circumstances. But yeah, when you can build a defense, absolutely,
Yeah.
right. But I think on both sides too, there's the service sector. I mean, we obviously together we support the operators, right? So the operators very rarely own anything other than the rock,
Right.
and or maybe some surface land, right? And then everything else they do is contracted, right? And so there has to be alliances, there has to be partnerships, there has to be building, and there has to be available money and cash flows. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is how to deal with. I mean, we've worked unfortunately with some customers that have gone Chapter 11,
Yeah.
right, and through that restructuring, there's unfortunately some adjustments to what you were paid, and that's one of the more difficult things. Is it's one thing if you're paid and you have a difficult customer. It's one thing when you
Have a good customer.
have a good customer that can't pay,
Yeah.
right? And that's the most damaging thing. So I don't know, probably somewhere around there. I mean, on both sides of the spectrum, I think there's a lot of my customers that really enjoy the fact that I've been a drilling engineer and then I've drilled Delaware-based, I've drilled Midland-based.
I
and
think
I've
that's a
drilled
great
a lot of
experience.
different targets.
Absolutely.
And and there's some that latch on more than others. And I think anyone that will talk to you that has had those conversations with me will tell you that I'm more than willing to discuss anything that I think. I mean, I'm an opinionated person, so ask me what I think and I'll be sure to tell you.
Did you like us going to the dark side, the service side?
Just like Clint said, for the first 3 months he didn't know if I was coming back or not.
Right.
Even the office, and I found this out a few months ago, but even the office had a pool on how long I would last.
Really?
Yeah. But I don't think anyone, sure, I'm sure some people hated me, but you know, in an honest way, it was Clint was throwing someone into the fire
Right.
and seeing if it could work, right? And I think I've adapted, I've evolved, all those kind of things to get myself to where I am. But just like Clint thought I wasn't coming back, there was a lot of people that worked for me
Yeah.
that thought I was just going to bail and give up eventually. And luckily, that's not my nature. So I'm sure I made a ton of mistakes on the way there out of stupidity or ignorance or stubbornness.
So you like this side of the business?
I mean, it's fun.
It
It's
is.
exciting. It's never ending.
Yeah.
There's no like, got those progs out, now I can relax all weekend. Unless that one thing goes wrong. Yeah, there's just enough going on at all times
Right.
that there's always some fire to take care of.
Right.
And I really do enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
So what are you anxious about kind of in our industry right now? I mean, with everything going on, obviously, we're actually recording this, was it November 5th right now? Like, you check on that Timex.
It's the 5th.
It's the 5th.
This is an Omega.
So, it's a Timex. So actually, we're recording this on November 5th. Actually, we're kind of currently in these, the election. I don't want to get political and stuff, but like, I mean, so how are you, what are you anxious about right now in the oil field? Like, what do you miss? Like, what do you see the oil field going back to the way it was before, or like where do you kind of see it going, evolving?
I think a perfect way to sum up my response would be what I miss the most is like when you would go to Denver,
Yeah.
and apart from a couple customers, like we do a lot of work for a customer out in Golden, Colorado, so that's usually a whole afternoon to go meet
Okay.
with them and, you know, may have substantive time with them.
Right.
But beyond that, when I was in Denver, I could spend a day and a half outside of the half a day I spent in Golden. And I could go see every operator on 16th Street Mall because everyone was in their offices.
Everyone wants to grab coffee.
Grab a coffee downstairs, or yeah, I'll give you 20 minutes. Or
Yeah.
man, I just, please.
That's not Houston or Midland, is it?
No, and so like Denver was a special place, and I loved going to Denver. I felt like we were really making some progress in Denver before some of these changes and COVID. You know, we had a half dozen clients that were generating revenue off of in Denver, and one of them was in Golden, and the other 5 were off of 16th Street. And so, or roughly off of 16th Street.
Right.
But so I could go up there and I could make hay. I could go up there and
You feel like you're making progress.
I could talk to my current customers, prospective customers, future customers, prior customers.
Right.
I could talk to everyone
Yeah.
in 36 hours. You can't do that anymore. Right? And so that's one of the things, it's like the camaraderie or I mean, I was never big on just like random happy hours at some random bar, but getting people together, you know, and getting to know people on the personal side of our business, because what we do is very cutthroat. It's very demanding. The expectations are like incredibly high.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if all those things exist, you have to have a certain level of trust. And without that trust or that,
Then you're just a bid.
then you're just another bid.
You're a bid, and you're
With
trying
some- with
to
some-
justify with the numbers.
with some very sterile bylaws.
So that's
Right.
the thing. I mean, I mean, we've had a bunch of people on here, and I think this is something that a lot of people discuss. We miss the get-togethers. You know what I mean? Fin for Feather been canceled. This been canceled. This been canceled. I mean, we have such a great group of people in the oil and gas industry, and one of the best things is getting together around each other. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And just, you know, shooting the shit, whether it's about family, whether it's about work, whether it's about this acreage or this company consolidating, or it's about, you know, like, oh my gosh, this person, you know, has cancer, we need to, you know, bring something to the house. Like, it's such a good family, and you don't have that these days, and that's what sucks, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know, and I can think on that note, you know, it goes, and I think it boils down to so many other things where, like for instance, over at Big Brothers Big Sisters with the golf tournament, we usually do a Swing for Kids' Sake golf tournament in Houston and Kingwood every
Oh,
year.
we're gonna get into that.
I know, but like that's another thing. That's 400 people that last year got together.
Didn't y'all play that? So pretty much just back up. So I know your dad was very involved in Big Brothers
Yes.
Big Sisters, Swing for the Kids, right?
Yeah,
Is that
and
what
he
it's
was
called?
Swing for Kids' Sake.
Swing for Kids' Sake, and now you kind of taken you're involved in that, which is, can you talk about that a little bit real quick?
Yeah, so
Give
I
a little
mean,
plug.
yeah, I'll give it a plug. You know, so as of right now, you know, myself and Daryl Blackburn and George Hans are all 3 co-chairs at the event. My dad and George started the event.
And the event takes place in Kingwood.
Right now it does,
Right.
right? Yeah, and it's shifted from Kingwood to Cypress and stuff like that over the years, but
Okay.
it is a Kingwood event.
Okay.
So next year we hope to do it in Kingwood again. But last year we had, 3 out of the 4 courses at Kingwood. We had roughly almost 400 golfers and, 100
What
different
does the
scrambles
money
going
go
on.
towards?
Well, the money goes towards Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is a nonprofit organization that is pairing, typically young men and young women that do not have father or mother figures in
Right.
their lives, or they might have them in their lives, but they're generally absent for whatever reason, for their circumstances. And you give them the mentorship, and you give them the abilities and the skills, and you give them some resources, right, to succeed in life and to have another person to whether you emulate your decisions or you bounce an idea off of, or you ask for advice, or you confide in.
Well,
Just one more person, right?
I mean, not being rude or anything like that, or kind of being an asshole, but why did you step up to the? So you're on the board now, is that correct?
Well, I'm a co-chair of the golf tournament.
You're a co-chair of the golf. Yeah. So why did you get so involved in this?
It's kind of like back to my degree. My dad did it for a lot of years. He asked me to join. He wanted the help when he was still active in working in oil and gas. He wanted the help because he was starting to remove himself, from working. He was retiring, right? And he needed the help on the young side. And that's, Daryl came in and I came in and we bring in some fresh blood.
Young blood.
And I even have my competition. Like I'm pretty close to a lot of the directional guys in the country. And I have guys asking me if we're going to do the Big Brothers Big Sisters golf tournament this year.
It's one of the best tournaments out there.
Yeah, and it makes me happy to see that there is excitement around it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
even guys that I compete with for work, where we may F you about this or that when it comes to work, that we can all come out for a common goal.
It's definitely one of those tournaments that people talk about, that people miss. You know what I mean? It's like it's such a huge industry event. It's such a great cause too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's definitely something we miss. And I certainly hope that you keep on pushing it and keep on growing it.
Yeah. So I'll finish the plug up as this year unfortunately we had to cancel it, but next year we're going to come out stronger. Hopefully we can do it at Kingwood. I hope to be able to occupy all, 4 courses that they have available at Kingwood, and that'll raise our participation.
Are you a golfer?
I hate golfing.
You hate it?
Well, I suck at it. I'm not good at it.
Are you good at? All right.
I've got a $400 set of Nike slingshots that I bought in Arkansas because they were the only left-handed set they had there.
By the way, I love Arkansas. I love that state, by the way.
Well, they if you like golfing, they do have some cheap public courses.
No, it's a great state. I went up there. My wife and I went to Jake Voss and Teresa Voss's cabin up there. We enjoyed it. So, are you a golfer, fisherman?
I do like fishing.
Where do you entertain your customers? What's your move?
I don't know. You guys ever been to the bar?
Is that in Midland?
No, I mean we. Midland's a different style though. We do a lot of stuff at the house, or we do a lot of restaurant bars, if you will, not real bars.
Look, man, I'm 40. I'm all about restaurant bars. You know what I mean? People are like, "Oh, let's go to this bar." It's like, no, I'd rather go to a restaurant bar and get some apps, get like 3 martinis, go home, in bed by 8 o'clock, call it a night.
Sounds wonderful.
Doesn't that sound good?
Yeah, but like in Midland, I don't know, it's tough because Midland, you have the bar, you've got Lone Star, the country's country club of country clubs, and you've got a couple other places. You got Blue Door, you got Buffalo Nickel.
I remember Blue Door.
They're all pretty spread out.
I remember Blue Door.
Yeah, they're not. It's not like one strip that you go down and you go drink, right? So you kind of decide where you're going, and you go there, and then you finish off your night and you go home.
That's where you see your customers.
Yeah.
What was it, the Shack in the back?
Well, there's the Shack in the back on the weekends, Wednesday night, for about, 10 weeks straight, 13 weeks straight. I did not go this year.
Well, good for you. I've heard about that. And we actually have a write-in question from a long-time listener, Ryan Brogley.
Oh, God.
What?
Ryan Brogley wrote in a question, huh?
He really didn't write it. He kind of messaged me on LinkedIn and kind of wanted me to ask you this kind of on the spot. So, your nickname, so you're young petroleum engineer, EOG, Endeavor, now you're senior SVP,
It's a senior vice plumber.
So talk to me, so you have a nickname, don't you?
I do, I think you know what that is.
I know, I'm kind of, I'm baiting you right now. So your nickname's Hollywood.
It is.
So he wants me to ask you, where did you get this name Hollywood?
Do you mind if I address Ryan?
Well, first off, no, time out. Have you had any other nicknames besides Hollywood?
Yeah, I mean, the only other one, well, I guess I have two, but the first one, my mom, I grew up as Jamie.
Okay.
I was a Jamie boy.
So I was born James too, and when people call me Jamie, like, I didn't do this, but I heard it. I used to like get so upset I used to cry. I'm like, I don't want to be called Jamie.
No, when I was like 10, when I was 10, after being 10, a decade of my life
Yes.
as Jamie, when I was 10, I had this girl, and I wonder if she's going to listen to this. Logan, hello, but Logan Ash made fun of me.
Hello, Logan.
Hello, Logan. But Logan Ash made fun of me for being Jamie.
Well, who's laughing now, Logan?
Exactly.
Yeah, you are Logan.
Right, but she's married and happy, so she's probably laughing at me anyways.
Well, she's married, but she's listening to this and
Yeah.
she's second guessing.
But
I'm kidding, Logan.
But I remember going home to my mom and like crying, telling her like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be Jamie anymore. I'm James. Like I put my foot down.
It's like 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so I had Jamie when I was a kid.
I hated that.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I hated JP. Like, people call me JP growing up. Balled out. Then I had
What's
this,
the P? Are you like James?
I'm James Patrick Charles Johnson Moore. Okay?
Good Lord.
Yeah, I know, thank you. So, Scantrons were a bitch. Alright? Like, Scantrons sucked. But I remember, people call me Jamie, or like, then they call me JP, like in second, third grade. Like, I was so mad. I'm like furious about this. And I had a fourth grade teacher, Miss Farragher. She always pronounced the "gur" at the end. She called me JP. So you have a problem with that? I was like, no, I'm cool with that. Dude, go ahead, call me JP all you want. Like, held the tears back, and ever since then, fourth grade, JP.
It's been JP ever since. You
Miss
know,
Farragher.
us Jameses, we kind of secretly rule the world.
Do we?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't know. You tell me.
So you're Welsh, right?
Yeah.
I'm Irish. Right.
I'm
So-
also Irish and Scottish.
So James, right there, big
Yeah.
time. So you're a whiskey or a bourbon, what?
a little Scotch.
A little scotch?
Scotch
Okay.
whiskey.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So give me the if you want to address Ryan, go ahead, because he's probably listening. And he
I
might
feel like
not be.
Ryan has waited his whole life.
Oh, he's
for
dying.
this story.
He's dying for this moment. He's probably like on an airplane right now, flying it, being like, yes, yes. So what?
Indeed.
So where did Hollywood come from?
Yeah, so when kind of going back to the EOG story, when I got injected into the Intrepid saga of the relationship, I went into Intrepid's office and because I've got no, I don't know, sense of barriers or respect for people, I guess, I just kind of like went upstairs at Intrepid, although there was...
Well, that's not respect. That's barriers, not respect.
Yeah,
Respect.
I don't know how to say it, but I just kind of went upstairs.
Right.
Right, and that day I happened to be wearing like a button-down shirt with a few more buttons undone.
The single look.
Yeah, some jeans that,
Euro cut.
yeah, Euro cut.
Little slim
you
fitter.
You got the change in my pocket maybe,
I get it.
and some loafers without any socks, and
This is a sharp look.
yeah, I mean I looked good.
I get it.
No,
I
like
get it.
women were dropping.
They were
Yeah.
literally throwing their numbers at you.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were swiping.
had to
They were
bring a- I
swiping.
had-
They were swiping right.
I had to bring a stick with me around town
I get that.
just to kind of make sure they could get off of me or
I
something
get
like
that. So
But
anyways, looking good.
yeah. So I go upstairs and I walk into Clint's office and he calls me Hollywood because of the way I'm dressed, almost as a negative thing.
I'm
Because
trying to diss you a little bit.
he wanted to diss me, he wanted to dig my skin a little bit.
Right.
And that was because he didn't like the idea of having someone over there all the time that had free will over everything. Because this was his company.
Especially young cat.
5 years ago, this was Intrepid. They were 15 years into it. Clint's owned the company the whole time and had control of the company the whole time. And it wasn't something that he had ever done before,
Right.
so he was uncomfortable with it. And so he gave me this nickname negatively. And over the course of a few weeks of continuing to call me that, slowly, I guess I won him over and he won me over, and we established a really good business relationship
Right.
together. And then we established a good personal relationship together. And Hollywood went from kind of a negative term to a term of endearment. Like this is a term that dates back to the beginning of our relationship, kind of way.
Well, Ryan, if you're listening, I kind of expected a better story. That's a great story. I just
Yeah.
was expecting more juice behind it. You know what I mean? Like more pulp. But I expected more.
Ryan, just pick up the phone, give me a call. I'll give you the rest of the story.
Yeah,
And
we
I'll give you some
we'll
more
keep that
juice.
off the podcast. So wait,
Yeah.
I noticed recently on LinkedIn that you actually went down to South America.
Yeah.
You went down to Cuba,
No.
Colombia.
I went to Ecuador
Ecuador?
and Colombia.
Colombia.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So you
But
went
not Cuba.
well, I was saying Colombia.
Oh, you were
Yeah,
split it up?
I was throwing it in
It's
there.
just taking a little while.
Whose podcast is this? Mine.
It's your podcast.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you listen to me now. You understand me. So
I am the captain now.
I'm the captain now. Look at me. I'm the
Yeah.
captain. So you went down there. So first off, I saw that and I was kind of blown. I was kind of taken back because right now in a world where everything's kind of locked in, oil field sucks. There's not a lot of business going on domestically, and yet you're going down there and actually kind of doing a business development. Am I wrong? Business development, kind of a trip down there to kind of generate business and all that stuff. So tell me about how business was kind of going down there. I mean, how much it's kind of what are you seeing down in different markets?
Yeah, so Ali Rodriguez and I, we went down from Houston down to Ecuador. We went to Quito and then into Bogota in Colombia.
Yeah.
And there was some existing work and some existing relationships and opportunities that existed from the gyro data deal that we consummated on May 1st.
Was this the first time you went down there?
It was the first time. This is my first international business trip ever.
Oh,
so
really?
I opened my eyes up a lot.
So it was you and who else?
It was me and Ali Rodriguez.
And what
so
did Ali do?
So Ali is a senior VP of operations
Okay.
in a so Ali is his function right now, like his specialty and his focus is definitely on some of the customer relations in domestic U.S.
Right.
in terms of like the Northeast or some of our Powder River customers, helping us continue to transition from our previous customers at Gyro Data to make sure they continue to be Intrepid customers,
Okay.
and then also Latin America.
So
Right.
so you go down there and this is your first international business trip.
Yeah. And Ali is actually, he's like a really, I mean, if you look at his resume, it's like a yard long.
Right.
I mean, he's a Colombian guy that went and got a petroleum engineering degree in Eastern Europe, and then came back to Colombia. He was a company man. He was an engineer.
Really?
And he went to Canada, and then he went to the Northeast, and he went to Houston.
Oh, but this cat's got so many stories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's been in oil and gas for 35
Right.
years, and he's been all around the world doing it. And so he's really well versed, and he's the right guy for the position as well.
So what was it like traveling down there?
Well, unfortunately, because of COVID, all you have to take is the red-eye flights.
Okay.
So everything sucks. Like when you travel, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. But we landed in Quito, Ecuador at like 1 a.m. Got through customs, got to the hotel at 4, woke up at 6:30, started our meetings, all that kind of stuff, and then just burned it down until Thursday, and then caught flights to Bogota, Colombia, and did a couple days in Colombia.
So how was doing business over there?
It's definitely a different pace. It's a different style.
Now, did you
There
know
are-
that? Did you know that before going in there, or you just kind of exposed that once you landed?
I guess I'd been like warned, like this is how things go. You know?
What do you mean pace?
Well, I guess when you get into any country, I mean, we have a way of doing things, right? I mean, if you want to work with me, I have to sell you, and to sell you may be a very, very, very difficult process. But then I just need to go through the MSA process.
It's very business.
It's very business,
Right.
but it's also very business in Latin America, from what I can tell. But it seems to be where me selling you might be a smaller portion, and me selling the company is a bigger portion. Rather than me,
Oh.
I sold you. Okay, here's my Herbie Hancock on the MSA,
Yeah.
and go ahead, and carry on with my rat killing.
Yeah.
Now it's these pre-qualifications. It's this paperwork. It's this.
It's more of a process.
It's a lot of hurdles.
Yeah.
It's an international process for almost, I've never done any of the offshore work or anything like that, but it's a higher level of qualification
Yeah.
that they want to desire to see from you, right? And so you have to satisfy all those things. And so, but those things later on with each other, and then also, when you go down there and I'll tell you the biggest thing that I had to get used to was I've
They told us flush in a different way?
No, I was. Well, I guess no.
No, they
I
don't
was on the
flush
north side of the
different.
equator.
Here's a
so they
joke.
They don't turn around
flush
yet.
different.
They don't turn around.
Anyway,
Is that a rumor?
I think it's
Is that fake news?
I think it's fake. Run the Rotary. We're just literally sitting here talking, so don't fact check me. So anyway, so what was the biggest thing you had to deal with, or your biggest surprise?
Yeah, I think that goes with the customers down there in Ecuador and Colombia. They really did seem to have a larger focus on the interpersonal side of the relationship,
Okay.
right? And so when you did lunch, it wasn't about business. It was about getting to know each other and getting comfortable with the people you're going to be working with, and right? And so it was a different kind of thing than what I was used to in terms of like, and don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't like going to lunch with my customers here in the U.S. Just a whole different style and how they approach it. Like I was almost begging to talk about our equipment, our motors, what we do, our processes.
Because you feel like, hey, look, we're down here for like 2 days. I need to talk work.
This is precious time. I only have so much time.
I literally hate talking work. If I go out to lunch with a customer or anything like that, I rarely ever talk work. You know what I mean? But like, I can understand like being on a trip and you're feeling kind of that pressure behind you. Just like, man, we're only here for 48 hours. I need to talk work with these cats.
Yeah.
But it's a very slow, interpersonal, relationship building mentality.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And that was different for me. And then, you know, on top of that, they just eat their meals at a completely different time than us Americans do.
So when do they eat their meals?
I mean, shit, they're eating lunch at 2. That's dinner time for me, basically.
Is it heavy meals?
Oh, heavy lunches.
Did you enjoy Colombia or Ecuador more?
I like the accent you put on there. That was
Thank
really nice.
Gracias.
I don't know. I spent more time in Ecuador, so I think I enjoyed Ecuador more than Colombia.
Do you have any other trips coming up?
Not any planned, but I think we need to go to Ecuador and Colombia here in the next 60 days again,
Let's
and then
do it.
me and you.
I'm in.
Okay,
Let's go.
let's do it. And then we're working on some other stuff over in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait as well, which is more international opportunity. It's very interesting. So like when you look at the U.S. onshore, and we're at 260 rigs today or whatever we're at for the directional market, for my market, and the fact that we might get up to 430 in the next 12 months. There's 180 rigs in Saudi Arabia and there's 120 rigs in Kuwait, and a lot of them are starting to move towards unconventional projects. And so it's starting to get into there as well. And then in Colombia, what's very interesting is they seem to be approaching some level of a gas crisis. And in order to solve their gas crisis, they're going to need to develop this unconventional shale gas reservoir on the north side of their country, which is all horizontal work, right?
Right.
Just like when we did. I mean, we out-drilled ourselves.
Yeah.
When it came to gas in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that. And so there's some longer-term goals down there in Latin America to get ourselves established and become relevant, and then, you know, be available to grow as the needs grow as well.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting right now. So if there was a place to go, so are you a traveler?
Sometimes.
So I mean, where do you travel abroad a lot?
I mean, so I went to Croatia last year.
Do you Croatia yacht party?
I did the yacht week.
So I knew it.
Yeah, I did the yacht week.
How was that?
It was pretty wild. Me and Matt over.
I love how you're like, oh, you and Matt Olivier went?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, dude! I heard that place is legit.
Yeah,
So
shout out to Matt O.
So if there was a place that you want to go, you know, like not business wise, where would it be?
I'd want to go back to that like Mediterranean, Eastern Europe kind of area.
Okay.
Not Italy. I would probably visit Italy if I was close, but like I did thoroughly enjoy that.
What did you enjoy about it?
I don't know. It was a pace of life that was
Lifestyle.
Well, first of all, I don't know what industry is there. Besides nothing. Olives, wine. There's a lot of wine in Croatia.
A lot of wine, yeah.
But there's
And techno.
Yeah, a lot of house music.
That's what I'm talking about.
But I don't know. You know, it seemed to be a really enjoyable place. Every time we ported, like in a town, and we did something, it was really nice. The food, the people, the personalities, they're all beautiful, right?
That's awesome.
And I don't know. I like Europe.
Yeah.
I'd want to go to Europe before I went back to Asia, I think.
Okay.
And but then South America. I mean, South America was great. I mean, I hear great stories about Cartagena and Medellin, and I can't remember the one town in Ecuador. We flew through it on the way back, but we were staying in Quito for work, but then we flew through another town that was more of a coastal port town in Ecuador.
You have any good stories from your trips or not?
I did eat in Ecuador it's called cuy, something like that. I don't know.
What is it?
You're not going to be able to tell me if I mispronounce it. I can tell you that.
I'll pretend I could.
Yeah. Si va bien.
Cuy.
Cuy.
What is it?
And so it's actually so it's like a hamster, but it's a big hamster. It's literally, it looks exactly like a hamster.
Yum.
Or a guinea pig.
Delicious.
Right?
Well, first off, those are two big different things.
Well, a hamster's that big.
Yeah.
And a guinea pig's like that
I'd
big.
rather feast on a guinea pig any day over a hamster.
Yeah, but
or a gerbil.
these cooyies are like that big.
Ooh, that's good eating right
So
there.
it's
So
like
it's like 3 times the size of a guinea pig.
Maybe not 3 times, but they deep fry it.
Ooh, deep fried guinea pig.
Yeah.
Yum.
Yes, they deep fry it,
Oh.
and it's. I mean, it was actually. It tasted like I had the legs off of it,
Yeah.
and it tasted like kind of tasted like duck. It was really fatty.
Really?
Yeah. Let me see.
You don't have to show me a picture right now. I mean, no one else is. We're
Well,
all.
I know. I'm going to show you a picture to see what kind of reaction I can get. Do you see how the head is still intact and how they cook it?
So pretty much what I'm looking right now is first off is James smiling randomly in this picture, and there's this deep fried. It looks like Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's looking at you like screaming. It's dead and screaming, and you ate that.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Any sauce?
No sauce. No
Okay.
sauce.
All right. All right. So what else has been going on these days? I mean, we're coming up. We're coming up an hour 15. So what else is going on
Wow.
these days? What you watch anything good on Netflix? Read any good books? I mean, what else are you interested in?
Okay, I do have to give a good shout out.
To?
I've got a good book that I'm not only listening to, but I'm reading personally.
So are you
With my own eyes.
Do you listen to books?
I do not listen to books.
I just started probably about 2 weeks ago, and I'm trying to get into it.
Are you flexing on me right now?
No, I'm not. I'm just telling you. Like I space out. I space out, then I come back in. I'm like, oh shit. Let me rewind.
Well,
30 seconds.
I often have to reread pages because I do that when I'm reading as well.
Okay, so what are you reading?
So the one book I'm reading is I'm doing a lot more flying for work. It's called On Leadership, and it's a good. I don't know. It sounds like a cheesy book. It sounds like a self-help book, but it's not. It really is a objective look at how to deal with people, how to categorize people. I think in all of our organizations, with everyone we deal with.
So this is like professional stereotyping book.
Thanks. Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called On Leadership.
On leadership.
On Leadership.
Okay.
No, so yeah, I mean.
I'm joking about stereotyping, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but that was a good joke. I didn't know how to respond to that one. So, but the way the premise of the book is it's very much, it's separating the groups of people in an organization and the dysfunctions in every organization, because it doesn't matter if you're at CPC or I'm at Intrepid or our customers are at EOG or they're at Endeavor or
Right.
they're at Tap Rock, wherever, right?
Right.
There's massive efficiencies and massive dysfunctions everywhere, right? Because every organization comes with pros and cons,
Right.
and how you structure authorities and stuff like that. And so it's a good book. It makes you think about how you interact with people. I think like it almost makes me feel like I'm a psychologist.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. But it gives you
But
some
it's good- but it's
skills,
good- it's good-
evaluation
okay.
skills like that, right? So
So do you enjoy reading those leadership type of books, or do you enjoy stuff reading?
not totally. Like there's a joke with my dad that my dad loves leadership books and he just keeps giving them to me, but this one I happen to really like.
So what do you read books that aren't just business? Can you turn your phone off?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, that's just work.
I have a lot of work calls going on also, but I'm here talking to you right now.
I'm
Ian's for
focused on
listeners.
you. I'm
Ian's for
focused on you.
listeners. So do you enjoy reading books usually?
Not totally. Honestly, I'm not a reader.
I'm not okay. I'm not a reader too. I'm listening.
But I want to get more into it because I spend a lot of time on flights. I spend Midland to Dallas
I
to
kind of
Houston
feel like
to Denver to
I kind of feel like at
Pennsylvania.
our age, if you're on a flight, you got to do something like productive to your professional career. If not, you're kind of wasting time. And I hate saying that, but I kind of feel like you sit on a flight, you look at this guy, he's reading oh yeah, management skills 201. Like, shit, I'm reading this bullshit Teenage Mutant
Harry Potter too.
Harry Potter 15 book right now. Like I need to get into that. But you know what? I don't knock the people reading the Harry Potter books because read what you enjoy.
I think
what you enjoy.
I think there's some level of self-motivated mental stimulation that comes with it as well. Not only reading, but reading about something that I probably need.
I think so too.
But I don't know. I'm not a big self-help book kind of guy, but I will. I think they're cheesy, and I call them out on it all day long. But I think that's a good one.
You've been doing a lot of during the whole quarantine, all that bullshit. You've been doing any TV shows or movies or anything like that? You recommend?
No, I haven't started any new ones. To tell you
Alright.
the truth, I would recommend anyone if you haven't watched Mad Men, go watch Mad Men. You watch Don Draper and Roger Sterling take over the world, and then, you know, Don Draper kind of slips into oblivion, meditating one day, and that's kind of it. So,
Wait, is that how it ends?
yeah, I mean, just spend about 300 hours of your life watching it. And
Which feel like every episode's the same thing. He drinks, he
drinks, he cheats on his
he
wife.
drinks, he cheats, and it's like, oh, it's a new season.
And then he creates a little bit of copy for the marketing company. He makes a bunch of money, buys something nice, and then cheats again, and then the episode's over.
It's like season 7. You won't believe how he cheats again. It's
Yeah.
like, no.
Holy crap!
I know he's gonna cheat. I know that. So, what is anything grinding your gears that you want to bring up or anything like that? Go on the world today.
Oh God.
Not political.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Not political.
No, not really. I mean, I'm looking forward to hopefully 21 being a better year, and I think yourself included, plus everyone we know is hoping the same thing, and I don't know, I want to get back to normal. I want to get back to the interactions and the camaraderie.
Well,
and stuff
here's the
like
deal.
that.
Here's the deal. You and I both know that it's never going to go back to the way it was. You know, it won't. I mean, whether it's companies not having office space, whether it's companies not allowing vendors coming in to do the normal breakfast hours, whether it's this and that and all that stuff. So, what is that? What are you excited about? Kind of the new oil field coming up.
I guess the one caveat and the one positive is that before March of this year,
Right.
I couldn't, for a shot in hell, get a customer to join me on a video conference.
Really?
I mean, for the most part, yeah.
Okay.
Because it was so abnormal. Like, I would fly up there and I would schedule a meeting and we would have a meeting and I'd bring a couple people over there and I'd get everyone comfortable. But, you know, and at this point, at least we can do a little bit more work remotely.
Oh, absolutely.
I think a lot of our work, and I think the oil field needs to re-gear itself for working remotely and all those kind of things. Because
You're seeing some companies do that.
yeah,
You
what
are.
we do professionally is not totally meant all the time to be remote or this absent from the customer experience.
You need
right?
to have the interaction.
Right, and so it's increasingly difficult with what we do on the service side to be able to service our customers in a way that they feel like, you know, they feel like they've been attended to the
Right.
level they need to based on the kind of needs, requirements, information, all those kind of
Yeah.
things. And if you just sterilely send emails,
It gets
I
old.
think people are dissatisfied, those kind of things. And so at least video conferencing becoming more available and people becoming more used to it is a good thing. But at the same time, I just much rather go hop on
Meet someone for coffee.
meet someone for coffee or
You know what's
go
funny,
on a
back
conference table and just go hash it out.
You know what's funny? Back in the day in March, it's like, hey man, I'm gonna FaceTime.
Back in the day.
In March, I'm gonna FaceTime you. Like, why the fuck? No, you're not
No.
FaceTiming me, dude. You're gonna text me. Now it's like, why is this guy texting me? Why is he FaceTiming me? So it's kind of like, it's kind of shifted and all that.
Yeah.
It really has. And we're never, it's gonna be a new normal, unfortunately. And unfortunately and fortunately. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I think certain tricks that are kind of thriving during these times are going to excel, and certain things that are kind of a waste of money back in the day, you know, are going to kind of get phased out. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of excited where it's going to go, and I just think you know, people stay, you know, heads down, working hard, and honestly, I think it's going to kind of turn out great for the newer the crew change that we've always heard about. It's happening.
No, it's definitely been accelerated, and then I can kind of add to that. This is definitely going to be a genesis for the new oil
Yeah.
field, right? This is going to be the new beginnings, and in some way, it's going to change. It's going to change drastically, and we don't know what it's going to look like a year from now. But
No, we don't.
but it's going to be like that, and it's going to be like that for a long
You
time.
can be on the service side a year from now.
Oh yeah,
You stay.
I'm not going
You
anywhere.
stay on the dark side.
I'm not going anywhere.
Well, that's good to hear.
This is great.
Well, anyway, you have anything else to bring up with me?
Now I just want to know when you're going to get a haircut.
It's COVID cut, man. I can't.
You're like David Carr when we couldn't win a game.
I can't get a cut. You know, I probably do need a haircut. It's one of those things. It's like I'll get around to it. But but also I'm doing this podcast, so I don't have time to do haircuts. I have to put out quality content for the listeners out there. Okay.
Listen,
Okay.
I wasn't attacking you.
No,
I wasn't attacking
I
you.
feel like you are, Jamie.
Do you feel attacked?
I might, yeah, I do. I do a little.
James.
I'm very sensitive. I'm very sensitive, James. All right, anyone. So if you want to tune in on the next time I'm getting a haircut, or you have any questions for James Metcalf III, please let me know. You can reach out to me and find him on LinkedIn as well. Again, this is James Metcalf III, the Senior Vice President of Operations at Intrepid Directional Drilling Specialist. And if you have any questions for him or me, you can reach out. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can find him or reach out to me. You can just message us at roundtherotary@cap-petro.com. Again, that's roundtherotary@cap-petro.com. James, appreciate you coming in, buddy.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, JP.
Next time you're in town, let's do this again.
Oh, man. I don't know.
Why not? Is this,
No, of course. We will have to do a sequel to this.
So before we started recording this, you said you kind of shrugged it off dismissively, like this is my third podcast, by the way.
No, but I also followed that statement up.
I don't care.
I don't. I know you don't care.
I don't care.
For the listeners, this is the truth. I followed that statement up with, but this is my first face-to-face podcast.
Okay.
The other two I did.
Where
One with my sister.
What was that?
Trailblazing Techs.
Okay.
That was more of just a general, what the hell are you all about?
Okay.
And then the second one was
That's
David.
kind of what this is, but okay.
Yeah, but she also knows a ton about me and all the dirt, so
We want to get
I
there.
told her to draw it back a
We
little
want to
bit.
get there. So what was the second
And then
one?
the second one was David Gibson with Gibson.
Love David Gibson.
But both of those were virtual, right? So this is my first face-to-face.
Wait, you did it virtual? Oh yeah.
Both
Okay.
of them were like Zoom, whatever you want to say.
So wait, were you on live, Vidor Locksmith?
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
I was on live, yeah.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I even got a haircut earlier that day.
Anyway, I didn't. So James, I appreciate you coming in, buddy. I enjoyed this, man, and I'll tell you one thing. I wish you continue success, and hopefully 2021 is better for both of us and the oil field and everyone else out there. And again, James, I appreciate you coming in, and thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, JP.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.